All right, today we're going to start chapter 2. We're going to look at writing equations. I do want you to make sure that before we get started that you have a copy of your notes out in front of you, so the worksheet. If you don't have the worksheet out, you need to make sure that you pass those out first. So we're going to be on the side that says 2-1 practice at the top. The other side you'll be doing for your homework. Okay, so on 2-1 on practice, number 1 asks us to translate each sentence into equations. So on 1 through 4, we're going to be writing an equation given a sentence. All right, so notice on number 1, it says 53 plus 4 times b is as much as 21. So remember, when we're going through this, you need to be looking for what part says equals. All right, so we know it starts with 53. We're going to write that first. Plus 4 times b, that's pretty simple for us, so we just add 4b. The words where it says is as much as, that's telling us what it's equal to. So is as much as would be equal to 21. Okay, number 2. The sum of, that means you're adding two things together. So what two things would you be adding? The sum of 5 times h and twice g. So we're adding together 5 times h and twice g. So 5 times h we would write as 5h, twice g would be 2g, and sum means we add those two things together. Is equal to 23. Okay, number 3. 1/4 the sum of. So 1/4 is going to be multiplied, then it's going to be multiplied by the sum of two things, right? So when we see that, we need to write 1/4 first, and then it's 1/4. When it says the sum right after that, that means we're adding two things. We would want to put those in parentheses. So what two things are we adding? R and 10. That means that we're just going to say R plus 10 inside our parentheses. Is identical to would be where our equal sign goes, and then we're just going to say R minus 4. All right, number 4, 3 plus the sum of the squares of w and x. So again, we can write down 3 plus, and then when we see the sum, that means we're adding two things together. We want to put those in parentheses. The squares of w and x means we're squaring both of those things and adding them together because it asks for a sum. And then it just says is equal to 32. Okay? So for the most part, if you'll just read these carefully as you go through, we won't have any trouble with that. Okay, let's look at number 5. We're doing the same thing, it just asks you to translate the sentence into a formula, so you need to be a little more careful with these because it tells you exactly what to use. So it says degree Kelvin, K, that means you're using K for Kelvin, equals 273 plus degree Celsius C. So just 273 plus C. On 6, it says the total cost C, so that means we're starting with C, is the price P per gallon times the number of gallons G. So if we don't know the price per gallon, it tells us that it's P, and we don't know how many gallons we've bought, but it tells us to use the variable G. Okay, last one on this one would be number 7. The sum S tells you to start with the letter S. The measures of the angle of a polygon is equal to 180 times the difference. So again, when we see that 180 times the difference, we should be subtracting something in parentheses. So the difference of the number of sides in and 2 just means you're going to take in and subtract 2 from it. All right, I'm going to go over these with you. You don't have to write this part down, but you might just kind of think about how you would translate 8, 9, 10, and 11 into a sentence. Miss Mickley, you could even stop at this point and just ask the students to do that for you, and then you can resume because I'm going to say what they could write. So go ahead and stop it. Ask a different kid in the room how they would translate numbers 8, 9, 10, 11 into a sentence. So for number 8, you could say something like R minus the sum of 4 and P is equal to a third R, or a third of R. On number 9, you could say 3/5 of a number plus 2 is equal to T. You could say the sum of 3/5 times T and 2 is equal to T. Number 10, I would say 9 multiplied by the sum of y squared and x is equal to 18. Number 11, you could say 2 times the difference of m and n is equal to x plus 7, or is equal to 7 more than x. Any of those things would work. Remember, we've talked about this sum, what different words we can use. Try not to just use the most basic words each time. Okay, last two, we're just going to go through numbers 12 and 13, and then you guys can do the work on the other side. So 12 and 13 says write a problem based on the given information. So on number 12 it says it tells you that the cost of one adult ticket to the zoo is A, and then it tells you that A minus 4 is the cost of one children's ticket. So if I know that A is an adult ticket and we did 2 times A, that tells us we bought 2 adult tickets, right? And then here, if I have 4 times A minus 4, that means I bought 4 children's tickets, and the total would have been what? $38, okay? So it wants us to write a problem based on the information. Here's what I would say on number 12. I would say the cost of 2 adult tickets and 4 children's tickets to the zoo is $38. Okay, so we stated everything we know. We know there's 2 adult tickets, we know there's 4 children's tickets, we know it costs $38. We need to ask a question because we're writing the problem. So what part of this are we wanting to figure out? Well, we want to know what the variable is, A. So how much is an adult ticket to the zoo? All right, so on these problems, you're going to state what you know in a sentence and then ask a question about what variable it is that you're trying to find and what does that variable represent. All right, so let's do number 13. Number 13 says C is the regular cost of one airline ticket. 0.20 times C is the amount of a 20% promotional discount. Okay, so notice C minus 0.20C, that means they're taking that discount off, right? And how many of those tickets were bought? Well, it tells you in front. So there's going to be 3 tickets that are discounted 20%, right? And what was the total cost of those 3 tickets? $330. Okay, so we're going to say the cost of 3 airline tickets that are discounted at 20%, right? Because just like we talked about, when we subtract that from the regular price, it takes that discount away. Okay, so that are discounted at 20% is $330. Then we have to ask, what's the question, right? Well, what's the original variable C represent? The regular cost of one airline ticket. So we would say, what is the cost of a regular ticket? Right? So you will do the other side for homework. Make sure you're going to do every number on the other page on skills practice.